Good morning and welcome to our Amud Yomi Shiur. We are learning Maseches Kiddushin, Daf Mem Hey Amud Aleph. We are by the two dots here in the page Itmar. After the two dots, right here, and we are learning about a Ktana, a young girl, younger than 12. That girl was normally a young girl is really unable to receive her own kiddushin because the father is in charge of her kiddushin and not her. The question is, what happened if Iktana was miskadish without her father's knowledge? Maybe we should be concerned that later on, at some point, the father heard about it, wanted it. Yeah, we don't know that he refused right away. Even if he refused later, it's not so simple. Maybe at some point in his mind, he was happy about the marriage, and retroactively, that was considered as a zuchus for him. So explains the Ran. And zochin odom shaloi befanov. So now that zchus means that it was under his, retrospectively speaking, there was consent because the man would like to see his girl under the chuppah, and therefore he really did want it. So at least maybe there's a chashash of kiddushin. Well, it's a machloikis. Rav u'Shmuel, they both said that there is such a concern. There's a chashash that really there was kiddushin over here, and therefore you have to give her a get misofik. On the other hand, they also said she needs both get and miyun. She has to do miyun. What's miyun? Miyun is what a girl does to finish her marriage, to terminate her marriage, if the marriage is the rabbanon. And we dafka say, don't give her a get just by itself, making people believe that she was divorced from that man that was mekadesh her. Why? What's wrong? That man, if he marries her sister, yeah, would say, wait, I'm actually married to Achois Grushosi. I'm married to the sister of my Grusha. I don't have to give her a get. My marriage with the second one of the sister is nothing because marrying your wife's Grusha is garnished. No, we say no. There's always the other side. Maybe the father had no consent. Maybe the father didn't want it. And therefore, your marriage with the first little girl is nothing. And therefore, the marriage with her sister is something, is real, and you need a get. So we play it both ways, we balance it, we're machmir both ways. Yeah, sometimes to be just machmir too much is not good. You machmir one direction, you make it on the other one. That's mamish a classical example. To just be machmir and say, oh, get. Then he'll think that her sister, she may have 5 sisters, and he may marry one of them, right? Then what? Chash. He'll treat the sister as achaz gushosoy, and she may not be achaz gushosoy. That's why, on top of the get, we also tell her to do ma'amar to make sure that it's balanced, and we know that the get was just misofik. That's what the Maimer does. Who was that? Rav Shmuel. Now, there was the other party, there was Ula, and possibly Karna, and we're going to see other people. They say no. Ein Maise Ktana Klum. What the Ktana does is nothing, and therefore, I don't care what you did, I don't care what you think. I mean, it's not irrelevant, and there's no get, no Maimer, no nothing. Okay, that's Ula. Itmar. Comes now Gemara. By the way, Itmar usually is an introduction for Machloikis Amoiroim. Here there's no Machloikis. This Itmar has no Machloikis, just one opinion. Says the Gemara as follows: Mace, v'nofel lifnei echov or achiv leyibum, which means let's now assume that girl who accepted kiddushin from what's her name of the girl? Ruchel. Ruchel. What happened to Ruchel? She received kiddushin from Reuven. She was very old. She was already 10, and she didn't see any shidduch in the horizon. So desperate at the age of 10 or 10 and a half. So then, what can she do? She accepted from Reuven the kiddushin without the father knowing about it. Now we are following now, as we're very very soon going to see the opinion of Rav Shmuel that say there's a concern here. What happened after her kiddushin to Reuven? Reuven dropped dead, heart attack. Yeah, he's about to marry 10 years old. Oy vavoy. He popped up. Yeah, that's it. He died, Reuven. She's now, if the marriage is something, is a sofek. Let's continue the question mark further. He died without children. For some reason, they had no kids. Yeah, him and the 10 years old. So then she is now what? Yavama for Shimon, his brother. It's really no need for charts or anything. It's really simple. There's only so far 3 people here. Reuven, poof, dead. Shimon is the brother. Rochel, is the one who is a little girl who is possibly Yavama. If you follow Rav Shmuel, we're concerned maybe there is some kind of Kiddushin here, and therefore she's a Yavama. Now she fell into who? Shimon. Very simple. Itma. Mace, he died. Reuven, the first Mekadesh. V'noflo lifne ochiv Yibum. She fell to Yibum, to his brother. Omar Ovuna Omar Rav, Rav, who believes that something's going on here. He's from the not in Ula's party. He's in the Rav Shmuel party. It's Rav. What does he say? Which means, let's say that girl continues with Shimon, the brother, the Yavam, and there was a mimer. What's a mimer? Mimer is something which we explained many times is a Dorabonon Diki Kiddushin, only Dorabonon. Yeah, people asked me over the phone yesterday. Only Dorabonon, they established the idea of mimer, which is like Kiddushin. Once a Yavama has mimer, yeah, then that brother should marry her and nobody else. How do you break a mimer? You need a get. You need a get and a chalitza. A chalitza to stop the zika doraisa, obviously. Chachomim can't pater you from doraisa. And also a get to stop the mimer, to break the mimer. It's kilu, you tied two ties, and you have to untie both knots. You know what I'm saying? There's a zika that's undone by chalitza, and there's the extra level. You went one step further into yes marriage by doing what? Mimer, but that you need to get if you want to stop, if you want to break it. That's just simple Yevamos facts. So if she got to the stage of having mimer with him, she needs to do miyun on top of the get that she receives. But if she did not get to stage 2, she's only stage 1, zika. Zika is automatic. Once Reuven popped out and died, excuse my language, once he was niftar, Reuven, there's zika. If all there is zika, what does she have to do to stop a zika? She doesn't want to continue. Chalitza. Then she doesn't need the mi'un, then just the chalitza without mi'un. And if you don't understand why, what, where, the Gemara here gets very detailed, very, very elaborate. The Gemara is going to explain everything. Ketzad, how is that? I see one ask something or no? You're good. Ketzad.
Mm-hmm. Zika will start. When does Zika start? The Kiddushin level?
That's a good Kiddushin.
Even. At the Kiddushin level, the Zika starts.
Yes. There's the Yavama mina Kiddushin. Yes. Look here. Yeah. Ketzad, how is that? Now the Gemara will elaborate everything very easily. Also, but Maima, let's say Shimon the Yavam, he got to a second stage. Shimon and they like each other. Shimon and Rochel. Okay, we're not going to do Bia like that, which with the rice would be enough. We'll do a Maimer, which is like a pre-nuptial thing. Yeah, Midraban on Maimer. And he did that, but now they want to break it. They want to stop it. Now, not only they want to, right? They really have to, because this is according to Rav, who believes that we follow it as if there was real Kiddushin. But who gave her Kiddushin? Reuven, the original brother. Then Reuven died. Then Shimon did Maimer. Now, what does she do? Tzricha get, v'tzricha chalitza, v'tzricha miyun. She needs 3 things. She needs get, chalitza, and miyun. And the Gemara will elaborate everything so easy and so good. Zog the Gemara Poshut. Tzricha get. Why does she need to get? From what does she need to get? Shimon Isra Tzaha'a b'Kiddush Sheni. Maybe the second guy, Shimon, when he did the mimer, now the father is still involved. The father is still there. In other words, we don't say that once it was Kiddushin and then he died and then this, it just goes automatically. She's not a Yisoy Mechaya Av. I stressed you, Rabbi Yisai, it's Kiddushin, not Nisuin. So she's still she still has a string attached to the father. Only Chuppah breaks her connection to the father. That didn't happen here. So when Shimon wants to do whatever he wants to do with her, it still has to do the consent of the father. So when we say, listen, there was real mimer, how do you break a mimer? By get. Okay, but who says there was mimer? Who says the father wanted? Good morning. This is Rav. Rav and Shmuel believe that we're always choishish. Maybe the father wanted whichever stage we're by. And since now we're by the stage of mimer to Shimon, the father may want it, may have wanted it, so she needs a get. Yeah, we don't play games with Eshes Ish. Yeah. Tzricha chalitza. Why does she need chalitza? What does she do chalitza for? Zika. Right? Chalitza she would have done anyways. The second Reuven died, she is automatically zikuka to Shimon. she needs chalitza. So she needs chalitza because of her marriage to who? To Reuven, zichrono livrocha. Thank you. Shem nisratza b'kiddush rishon avada. Maybe the father wanted the kiddushin of the first guy of Reuven, and therefore there was real kiddushin. He died, and therefore there's real zika, and you really need real chalitza because the father wanted. So she needs chalitza. Very simple. So she needs chalitza for Reuven. She needs from Shimon because of Reuven. She needs get from Shimon because of Shimon, because Shimon did her the mimer. And tzricha miun. Why does she need miun? She needs miun. Miun always comes to mitigate, to be the other force, the opposite force. Shema loy nisrat za'av, loy b'kiddush rishon v'lo b'kiddush sheni. The yoimru en kiddushin tovsin ba'achoisa. Full stop. Very, very pashut. Now, in other words, why did she need miun? Because you know something? Maybe the father is laughing on the side, saying the whole thing is shtiot. She's playing mommy. In the eyes of the father, even according to Rav Shmuel, they don't know that the father wants it. Yeah, we don't even believe the father because at some point maybe he wanted it and maybe not. We don't know. And therefore, we don't know what went through his heart. And since the father may have not wanted it, right, then what would be the case now? The whole business of Reuven and Shimon is a child play. Nothing. Shtuyot. Nothing really happened here. It's a 10 years old playing games with some foolish guys, right? And according to the father, this is nothing. And therefore, if you give her those businesses of the get, right? There was get from the other guy. What would people think because of this get? And by the way, Rashi says that the main issue is the second guy, right? Not the first one. Rashi says that the words lo nisrat v'kiddush rishon are extra words. Let's say the father did not want the kiddushim of the second guy, right? The mimer, and the get is absolute nonsense, and that's very, very dangerous. Why? Yoimru and kiddushin tovsin b'achoisa. There's another person coming to the scene, which we've seen before. Ruchel has a sister called Ephrat. Ephrat is a sister of Ruchel. And you know, Shimon at some point is dating Ephrat, the sister of his so-called Grusha. And then he says, Achaz Grushasoi, but he doesn't realize, and he's going to be Mekadesh Ephrat, right? What's going to happen then? And then some people tell him, he Mekadesh Ephrat, and now you don't like her? You don't need to give her a get. The whole Kiddushin never really caught. She's Achos Grushoscho. We saw a get. The whole Welt knows that he gave her a get to Rochel. If you gave a get to Rochel, then Ephrat is surely not your wife, right? If Ephrat is not your wife at all, why do you need to give her a get? You know what's a get? It's all process, going to Beis Din, paying money. You know, say goodbye to Ephrat, write her a nice email. It was nice getting to know you, and send her off. Because anyhow, she's nothing for you. Kiddushin don't catch it. Chayve krisus. That's what people would think, mistakenly so. It's the same chash as before, but I'm not saying anything new. It's exactly what we had yesterday, and I told you to listen very well, and you did listen very well. That's the idea. In order to avoid such a michshoil, such a stumbling block, we say when he gave the get to Rochel, we also tell Rochel, do miun. And then people would say, miun? Miun is only the Rabbanon. Yes, people, right. The idea is to show everybody that the get is not 100% get, it's a maybe get. A maybe get means 50% each direction. When he married Ephrat may or may not be his wife's sister, his Grusha sister, and just to play it safe and not play with Eshes Ish, he has to give Ephrat a get. It's the same thing as before, by the way. You just plug it into the story. And that's why we need three things. She needs Zika because maybe the father was interested, and she that needs Zika. She needs Chalitza to stop the Zika because maybe the father wanted the Reuven part of the story. Then she continued into Shimon and advanced a bit. He didn't touch her yet, but she advanced into what? Mimer. Mimer requires a get. Maybe the father likes Shimon. And maybe when Shimon did the mimer, it was the real thing. And therefore she needs a get from him to break the mimer. And because of the whole Maisa, we don't want to get too serious. People getting too hooked up and thinking that she's clearly Midorais's Grusha and say that Ephrat, the sister of Ruchel, is what? Is completely not connected to him. Then no, maybe there was nothing with Ruchel. And maybe when you married Ephrat, it was real marriage. Because maybe Ephrat is a stranger. Because Ruchel is nothing halachic to do with you. You played with Ruchel, mommy and daddy. That's all. So Efrat is a real marriage. You have to give her a real get, maybe 50%. Well, we don't play with Eshes Ish, right? And therefore, we say do a mimer to show that the get wasn't 100%, Doraisa. That's a very beautiful, picture over here, which we get about the whole story. Okay, you can ask now. Fine, yeah. There. Now, case number 2. However, loy also b'maimer. Let's say Shimon did not do maimer. In other words, let's say what happened. There was just Reuven who died, right? After being her mekadesh or chosun, so to speak. Reuven died, and there was no maimer. And what did she want to do now? Chalitza, right? Chalitza, and out of the picture, back to daddy's home. Ein tzricha ela chalitza bilvad. All she needs is chalitza and not what? And no miyun. Here we don't require that mitigating, balancing miyun. Why? Now comes the chiddush. Up until now it was a very nice sikum and chiddush here and there. Here comes a big bomb of a chiddush. Before we continue, I want to ask you a question. Let's say, mamash the case we have now. Forget about little girls for now. Let's move out of the sugya for a second, get some general knowledge, and then we dive back into the sugya. Let's talk about normal people. No minors involved over here. Yeah. Okay. And then what happens next? Reuven, classical Yibum case. Reuven, 21 years old Reuven, he's in the army. He married Rochel, and he went to Gaza. Shem Yishmo. Yeah. And then what? Rochel is an almana. Now Shimon, what did Shimon do? Nowadays there is no Yibum, 99% of the cases. So Shimon, what did he do? Choylets to Rochel, right? Now Rochel is a very nice sister. Rochel is a sister called Ephrat, and Shimon never married Rochel, never touched her. What was between Shimon and Rochel? Chalitza. Rochel is chalutzosoi, the chalutza of Shimon, and Shimon is suggested the shidduch Ephrat, really nice girl, Rochel's sister. What do you say? Should we go for the shidduch? What should they answer the shadchan by email? We're going for it, or is there halachic issue? She's achois chalutzosoi. She's a sister of his chalutza. Yes, no, maybe so. Well, midoraisa, it's okay. But the Rabbanon, the Jewish rabbis, said no. Achos chalutzosoi. It's a gzera atu achos grushosoi. Chalutza and grusha, they smell a little bit, similar. So midorabanon, they said achos chalutzosoi. Move to the next suggestion. Right? No, Ephrat and Shimon cannot marry because she's a sister of his chalutza. Good, that's just general knowledge. And now we're going to dive into the sugya. Back to our sugya. Now, Ruchel is a little girl. My Omar, says the Gemara, what would you say? Tibai nami miyun. Maybe if Ruchel, the little one, had chalitza from who? From Shimon, maybe you should require miyun also. You know why you should require miyun as opposed to what we said? Maybe you're going to suggest to require miyun shema yoimru, because maybe people would say ein kiddushin toifsin ba'achoisa, because people would say, listen, if Rochel and Shimon she's his chalutza now, and she's a real chalutza, well, we know she's a safek chalutza because the whole story maybe the father didn't want, and maybe people will think she's real chalutza, and then they would say that if he marries Ephrat, then Ephrat doesn't need get. Same chashash as before. Maybe you should duplicate the same chashash as before. Don't get too serious on the relationship with Rochel, because then people will think that effort is a nothing for him, and he would send her away without to get Eshes Ish. Here we don't say that. Here comes the chiddush. Farvos nisht. Akol yoidim achos chalutza derabonon. Everybody knows what I just told you now. The isser achos chalutza is derabonon. Let me ask you a question. Back to the old story. Reuven died in Gaza. Chas v'shalom. Yeah, Hashem yikom domai. Shimon, what? Now was choyletz to his wife, Rochel. Shimon was suggested to Ephrat. Shimon and Ephrat, bad boy, bad girl. They're over in Easter Darabonon, and they got married. He married the Nachas Chalutza. Naughty boy, naughty girl. They're over Darabonon, knowingly or not knowingly. Now, at some point, Ephrat stopped making blinches every day. And she's inviting her mother twice the same month. Can't take it anymore. Now, does he have to divorce Ephrat? Or do you say, no, you don't have to divorce her because the marriage never caught. The marriage was never marriage. What do you say? Is that the avid marriage or requires get? But they would say, listen, nothing really happened here, just stand their way. Then it soon was chal. Why? Because it's only midrabanon. Even better, even better, even better than Kohen and Grusha. Good and even better. Kohen Grusha, the Kiddushin is toifes, even though it's Issa Doraisa. Here it's an Issa Darabanon. The Issa Darabanon, of course, it's toifes. Rabbanon were not mafkir the marriage. And of course, if she needs a get, she needs a get. If she gets divorced. Says the Gemara, everybody knows that. What was her whole chashash all the time? That if he marries a sister, he would say, wait a second, nothing really caught, nothing happened, let's send away without a get. Here, there is no chashash. You know why? Because everybody knows the achos chalutza the rabbanon. Everybody knows that achos chalutza is only the rabbanon, and everybody knows the truth, that really she can't be sent only with a get. Everybody knows that because the is only the rabbanon, the kiddushin really catch. Everybody knows that. That's common knowledge. And therefore, we say, no problem. You don't have to mitigate the chumrah of the first girl because maybe he will be too light with the second girl. He won't be light with the sister. He won't be lenient with the sister because he knows that the whole Isser, even if she's 100% chalutza, Rachel, he knows that her sister is b'di'evet, yes, married to him because Rabbanan can cancel a doraisa kiddushin. The Omer Rish Lakish, because Rish Lakish says, Kan shono Rebbe, in that mission Yevomas Rebbe taught us, Achas grusha midoraisa, achas chalutza midivrei soifrim. Let's summarize again what's the chiddush. That's a chiddush. As much as we always say, don't be too stark on the get of who? The little girl, because then he would be too light after he married her sister. That's true when she got a get. Even a get to Rabbanon, wow, of Maimer. Because people see a get. People say, she got a get. Clearly, then her sister is Achaz Gushosai, and if he dates her sister and lived with her sister, they don't need a get, which is a terrible mistake. Here they won't make this mistake. Because in this case, the second case, there was no get whatsoever. There was only Chalitza. Ruchel, the little one, never advanced into the stage of Maimer. What happened? Some Chalitza. Reuven died. Then Shimon, the brother, is alive. Then she needs Chalitza. And everybody knows that her sister is Achos Chalutza. And everyone knows Achos Chalutza, you're not allowed to marry, but if you married her, the marriage catches, the marriage is valid, then you have to give a get. So there's no chash of sending your sister without a get. That was always the nightmare. You would send away the sister without a get. That won't happen here. You all knew, and everybody knows that the Achos Chalutza is the Rabbanon, and the Rabbanon, but the he said a very nice thing. Tzvi said, Kol Sheken from Grusha and Kohen. Grusha and Kohen are Doraisa in the marriage catches. Kol Sheken if it's the Rabbanon. Who doesn't catch? What kind of Kiddushin? Yeah, Daf Samech Gimel around there. Only Isur Koris. That's a level. Yeah, sister, the mother, and the son they get married. It doesn't catch. Daughter, father, all these nice things. Yeah, Ishatish. All these Isur Koris they don't catch. Weiter. Story time. Story time. Story time. Regarding our sugya. Oh, what's going on over here? Yeah. Hanu Bei Trei. There were two men. One had a son and one and a daughter. Allow me, please, 1 second. Oh, just in time for a new story. Hanu Bei Trei. There were two men, two mechutonim to be. There were two men that avukashasu chamra. They're drinking wine together. Tuti tzipi beBovel. They're drinking wine under the tzipi in Bovel. Tzipi is not a person. Tzipi is either the eights called tzaftzfa, which in English is called poplar. Poplar, Poplar, not popular. Poplar tree is tzaftzfa. Yes, I do know that actually. Yeah, they were sitting under the poplar tree. Tzaftzfa is very common in Israel. Yeah, it's similar to arova. They were sitting under the poplar tree, or some say under the like a mat, which was like a mirpeset, like an awning. They were sitting under the awning, enjoying themselves in the shade, drinking wine. Shakal chad minayu kasa de chamra. One of them took a cup of wine, yeah, the goblet of wine. Yavle lechavre. He gave it to his friend as kiddushin, and he said, "Omar mikadsheli bartich lebri." Yeah, in other words, I want my daughter to be married to your son. Obviously, the other way around. Yeah, he's asking his bitcha lebni. Your daughter should be mekudesh to my son. And yeah, he's expecting now, and they agreed, yes, my son will be married to your daughter. Okay. Omar Ravina. So basically, both father made an agreement, not just an agreement. The Kiddushin, in other words, one is representing the son, one representing the daughter. You tell me which one is easier, which one is more halachically problematic. The one who's Mekadosh, the daughter was Ktana, blah, 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 blah. The daughter was a Ktana. The daughter was a Ktana, the son has to be Godol. He has a 15 years old son and he has an 11 years old daughter. And they decided not just agree Shidduchim, Kiddushin, Mamish Kiddushin. The Kiddushin, there were two Adim, Mamish Kiddushin. I'm giving you the wine, and with this wine, I want your daughter to be Mekudesh to my son. Okay, fine. So now the daughter, Avada, the father may be Mekadesh on behalf of his daughter, even without her knowledge. But the son, it doesn't work like that. I can't be Mekadesh anybody on behalf of my son without my son's knowledge, without his consent, unless he made me a shliach. Oh, that now comes the story.
How old was the son?
Godol.
15.
Yeah, 15 or 45, I don't know. Amar Ravina, afilu. So you tell me, what's a chashash? What's a chashash? Why would you say that maybe there is marriage on the side of the chosan? Because maybe the son really wanted. Just like we say that a girl behaves without the father's knowledge, and the father hears about it later, we say retroactively the father is happy about it. Maybe you can say the same thing about his son. If somebody is Mekadesh, like his father is Mekadesh a girl for him, maybe the son will see her later and say, what a great girl. Like retroactively, I'm okay with it, right? And retroactively, what do I say? Yes, what a good girl for me. And it's called a zchus, Zochin Adam, Shaloi B'fanav. Are we concerned about that? Omer Ravina, we're not concerned about it. He says, Afilu leman domer cheshinan shemisratzav, even if he followed the opinion of Rav Shmuel that say, by the case of the father, even though there was no knowledge, we say that later on we're choishesh, maybe the father wanted, that doesn't reflect on our case. Why? We don't say that the son, maybe the son wanted. Why? What's the difference between a boy and a girl on her side? Says Rashi, when it comes to a girl, there is a concept of tavlemet of tandu. A girl and her father usually are less picky about the choson, and the choson boy is much more picky about the girl. Maybe nishtanu atvoim today, I don't know, but that's the rule Chazal made. Yeah, that's B'Shem Rish Lakish. Previously, we saw it in Naf Membeis. Yeah, the woman is okay with, as long as she's tandu, as long as she's somebody to live with, she's happy, and so is her father. The Shenk and the Choson gets more medakdek, he wants this kind of girl and that kind of girl, and mistame, Shem Nisratza ben lo amrinan. We don't assume that the son wanted it upon hearing that his father arranged the Kiddushin for him, and she's not Mekudeshes. And by the way, even if the son comes later and says, I want it, it's too late. Because it could be that by the time of the Kiddushin, he didn't want it. And this is what we assume. Now, Amri Rabban Ravina, wait a second. So what's Ravina saying? A very strong thing. Ravina says there's no Chash Kiddushin. It's a big Kiddush. In other words, although one father said to the other father, yeah, Arei bitcha mikudeshes libni, we disregard it and we don't assume that the son wanted it. The son was out of the picture, and so we don't assume that maybe he wanted. The Gemara, Rabbanon are now asking Ravina, V'dil mashliach shavye. How do you know? Maybe the son really sent him as a shliach to accept Kiddushin. Says the Ritva, and I didn't tell you the Machlokas Rashi Tosis in the sugya because I didn't go into it so much. But Lamaisa the Ritva and other Rishonim learned that this whole story is only b'shidchu. Remember the beginning of the sugya? We said that maybe the whole chashash of maybe the father wanted is if he knew the boy. If there was already dating process with the boy and speaking about a wedding, right? Maybe then we say. Says the Ritva here, according to the Ritva, very strongly, this whole story is not complete strangers. These two fathers were potential mechutonim already. They just wanted to finish the job. Oh, so then there's the big shash, big concern that maybe the son sent his father, be my shliach. Of course he can do that. One adult sending the other one, be my shliach to give kiddushin. Then yes, yeah. Zog the Gemara. So aren't you at least concerned about that? Says the Gemara, big yesod lahalocha. Yeah, we assume a person doesn't have the guts, the chutzpah. A person doesn't have the audacity to make his father shliach. When you make your father your shliach, you make your father work for you. In the good old days, people did not call the father and mother, come take me from here to there, as if the parent is a taxi driver, take me from the chug because it's raining half a second away. It didn't work like that. So Shavi Shliach, halachically, you're not supposed to make your parents shlichim. That's what it says in halacha. Even dvar mitzvah, unless this, unless that. But Meikar Din, there's an issue. But at least we don't assume a person would have the chutzpah to make him shliach, and therefore we say no, there was no shlichus. I don't know if the son really wanted it. Just because it was shidduch doesn't mean that he actually wanted it for sure, and we disregard it. But even if he didn't make him shliach, maybe the son told him that he's interested in the girl. Maybe if there was a shidduch, maybe the son told him, "Listen, I'm happy with that girl." So now, if the father does it even without shlichus, the son didn't have the chutzpah to tell the father, "You be my shliach." But maybe if the son said, "Oh, I really like that 11 years old Ruchel," then it's enough to make it for him. It's $1 million envelope to marry that girl. So if the father picks up the envelope, even without minu shlichus, that's how Zochin works, right? We saw that already before. We saw it in Daf Chav Daled, Chav Gimel. We saw it before in Daf Membeis. Omar le Rabba Barshimi, there's no more way. There's no more way out now. The Ferush Omar Mar, the Loisover lo de Rabu Shmuel. Boom, boom, boom. We must say that Ravina is not on Rav and Shmuel's party. Says, yeah, Rabbi Barshimi says, Mar, who's Mar? Ravina told us, Loisover la Rav Shmuel. Ravina does not believe at all in this whole business of Rav Shmuel, right? In other words, Ravina himself doesn't think the Rav Shmuel are right. He belongs to the Ula party, to the Ula side, and he believes that even by a father and a daughter, there's no such thing of being choishesh retroactively, in kazadavar, and therefore he's not choishesh to Rav Shmuel, and therefore Gamarnu, right? By the way, I'm not sure he's in Ula's party. Ula had a different issue that Maisa Ktana is nothing. Here it's not a Maisa Ktana. Here he opposes Rav Shmuel, I think, for a different reason. That he says, I'm not choshesh for all kinds of retroactive businesses. I'm just not choshesh to that. If I know that he wanted, that's something else. But he concerned and assumed that he wanted. Well, I don't know that he wanted. That I don't say, right? So Ula doesn't believe Bechlal Rav Shmuel. And okay, by the way, Rashi says, why did he mention Rav Shmuel? Afilu Rav Shmuel, to try and get the other side to think like him. Even if you believe in Rav Shmuel, that far you shouldn't go. Oma, another story. So how many opinions do we have so far? Rav Shmuel on one side, and they have opponents from Ula and from Ravina's side. We're not choishesh to maybe the father wanted, maybe that wanted. No, we don't go with maybes retroactively. We're not concerned about that. There's a big machlokes Rishonim at Paskin. Big machlokes Rishonim. Ravina is an achron, you know that. Ravina is one of the latest Meroim, and he's not in favor of Rav Shmuel, as we see here. Maybe we'll see the halacha tomorrow, but I know it's a machlokes Rishonim. I saw that in the written. Al Gavra, but let's continue more into the sugya. Al Gavra, the Kaddish Bekisha, the Yarka Beshuka. There was a man who was Mekadesh, a young girl, an underage girl, Bekisha the Yarka, with like a bundle of green vegetables. You know how do you call it? You know, they're like all a few stalks together, bundle tied together, yeah, like a bundle of vegetables in the market. So now there are 2 points here. Well, he did it in a very disgraceful way. You know, it's a disgrace. First of all, it was in the market, and you're supposed to be Mekadesh in a private place. It has to be 5 stars whole. Yeah, a smorgasbord. Yeah, it doesn't have to be, but it's not a private place. It's in the street, and also it's nicer to be Mekadesh with money or a ring, and he was Mekadesh with a bunch of vegetables. Is Kilu taking advantage of the young girl? Yeah, it's a young girl. But what does he do? It's Mekadesh her with some, I don't know, celery stalks, like that in the market. And the father didn't know. Omar Ravina, comes Ravina, which opposes Rav Shmuel Bechlal, and he says, even according to my opponents, who are choishesh, maybe the father wanted, so we should give her get and miyun, animili, when the father would have wanted it, maybe, derech kovod. If somebody treated his daughter nicely and gave her Kiddushin in a respectful manner, then I would say, but the Eved, yeah, a thought came through his mind, but the Eved, even though I was involved, it's a good thing. But if he did it in a way that's so disgraceful, like a bizayon, he belittled the girl, she's already little, and he belittled her. That way, no father would agree, even for 1 second, he's not involved. And that man was, playing mind games with her, treating her like that. For sure, the father wouldn't want that. Now, Omerle comes a question on that. Omerle Ravacha Medifti Ravina. Bizoyan demai. Exactly which bizoyan is bothering you? Which part of the bizoyan you don't like? Ibizoyan de Yarka, Ibizoyan de Shuka. What do you say? Which part is it that bothers the father? We assume bothers the father. That right? Is a bizoyan that should miskadish with a bunch of some celeries from the vegetable store, or is it because it's done in the public in the shuk? Nafkamina, it will be a nafkamina. The kaddish bekaspa beshuka. Let's use makadisher with a nice, good coin, nice and shiny coin, respectfully, or a nice silver ring, nice and good, but in the shuk, not the right location, or bekisha dearka bebesa, or alternatively, it was makadisher with this, very low class bunch of vegetables, but in the house, inside a respectful place. What's bothering the man more, the father, the location or the money? What is it? Either one, whether it was Makadisher with Kisha Deyarka or outdoors, either one is a bizayon, and even my opponents should agree that that level is so bad, he mistreats her even one way, and the father wasn't involved to begin with, it wasn't asked if to go ahead with the shidduch, so we don't assume anything positive on the side of the father, and we assume that the father doesn't want, and it's not Kiddushin at all, and you don't need a get. If you ask me, Ravina, I don't believe in this whole business. But even they should limit what they say in case of bizayon. Story time, another story. Ahu, oh, shalom bais, shalom bais. There was once an argument between a man and a woman. Would you believe it? Oh, about shidduchim of the children. Ahu de Omar, there was a man who told his wife, Likrivoi, I want Prince Abela, the daughter, I want her to marry one of my relatives. My relative, Reuven, is an amazing guy. She should marry Reuven, and she's a little girl, and she doesn't know what she wants. And you, my wife, you should listen to me. I want her to marry Reuven, my relative, my cousin. Vehi Omra Likrivo. His wife said, no, dear, I want him to marry Ephraim, my cousin, my relative from my side. We come from a noble family. And Ephraim, he should be the one, my relative should be the chosen of who? Of a girl. Kafte, she forced him. Kafte means she tied him, but Rashi with the Girsa said that she verbally forced him. She put a lot of pressure on the husband. The wife was a Jeddah. She was some kind of lady. What? She nagged him, right? The Omar La, okay, Tevi Kriva. Yes, dear, yeah. As we say, a husband always has the last word. Yes, dear. He said, okay, she should marry your relative Ephraim. Let's do what you want. But he agreed. At the end, he gave his consent at the end of the Maisa Seder. Now, what did they do? They made what we call today, BMS, like an engagement party. There was no Kiddushin yet. So who's the chosen one? Ephraim. Remember the case. The wife's relative, he's the one who is chosen to be the chosan, right? And the father is going along with it, reluctantly so. That's what my wife wants. But say they're okay, fine, let's go ahead with it. And they made a suda, but they made a nice suda for who? For the family of the prospective chosan from the wife's family. And then the mechutanim, there was no kiddushin yet, but it's about to be. They made like a suda, says Rashi. Rashi defines it as lechibas chitun, like to show that we're happy with the mahalach, like engagement today, and they invited other relatives too. There was a whole big thing. And what happened then? Ad achli v'shati. While they were eating and drinking, you know what happened? Another man eloped, so to speak, with her. Also Krive, his relative, Reuven, which the father originally wanted. You know what he went? He went be'igra. He went up the roof where nobody saw except for two Eidim. The kidsha. He's stealing her from her chosan. The chosan sitting there singing downstairs at his own engagement party. The kala eloped with who? With the guy that is the father's relative, which the father really wanted all along, and it was Makadasher without the father's knowledge. Now this is very, very tricky, because if you're the father and you have some shtickle yetzer hara, the father, once he hears about his relative, which he originally wanted, the Kaddish's daughter, the father, would say, I won. My wife is forcing this whole business over me, but I'm winning here. because at the end of the day, look who likes each other. My cousin and the girl, they're the ones who are. He's Mekadesh her. So maybe at least here we should surely be choishesh. This should be Rav and Shmuel, as they say, on steroids. This should be Rav and Shmuel plus plus plus, because this mamish is kilo proven. This makes a lot of sense to think that the father very much wants this. Says the Gemara, no, he doesn't. Why? Omar Abaye says Abaye ksiv. It says in the Novi, it says in Tzfania, Sheris Yisrael lo yatsu avla v'lo idabru kozov. The remains of Klal Yisrael, in general, it's Klal Yisrael. I don't know, Asheris. Bnei Yisrael are believed to be honest people. They will not do avla and injustice. V'lo idabru kozov. They won't lie, which means, although originally the father wanted his relative, which we called Reuven, but now he agreed. Once he agreed that Ephraim related to his wife should be the chosan, we don't think that he's regretting and changing his mind against his wife and against everything to go back to his old opinion. Once he gave his word to his wife, we assume he's an honest person, he's a yid and an honest person, and therefore he will not go along with his relative, Bekadish's daughter. He would go with what he agreed upon. He was overruled, so to speak. He goes along with it nicely. Chofetz Chaim says, once you're overruled, you have to accept it 100% in the BSD In, or he says, like in the Iryah, he says, let's say the Iryah decided something, you shouldn't tell people I was overruled. Accept it like a man and show united front. We assume that the father, although he has Yetzer Hara, he overcomes it, and he says, once I gave my word that she will belong to the chosan from my wife's side, although the one from my side that I wanted is doing Kiddushin, I don't want that. I don't want to break my word to my wife and for the family and for the Nuchosan who's sitting there singing the song at the meal. That's Abaye. That's Abaye. Rava agrees with Abaye, but for a different reason. Rava Omar, Chazaka ein odom torech besuda mafsida. Says Rava, I don't know how honest people are, but people, Jewish or not, are not interested in losing money. You know how much a caterer costs. They made an engagement party, 5,000 shekels, music, balloons, clown. I don't know what they had there. In other words, a person wouldn't start bitoreach. A person wouldn't work hard to make a suda for who? For the chosan from his wife's side, which he's less excited about, and then lose it for his own ego to lose the whole suda and break the news and tell everybody, no, sorry, his whole engagement party is nothing. We're going now for my relative with Mekadesher. We don't say that. A person wouldn't lose a suda financially. It just doesn't make sense. He's throwing 10,000 shekels to the party down the drain. My benayu. What's the difference, Lamaisa, between Abaye's reasons and Rava's reasons? Because they both say that the father won't go for his relative, but the Diavad would go for her relative. The difference between them is, and there was no tircha. Let's say there was no big engagement party. Let's say there was no party. Lefi Abaye, he's a man of his word. He's Jewish. He would stand by his word. And therefore, once I gave my word to my wife and to her relatives and to the chosan that she'll be his, I'll stand by my word, and I'm not going to help my daughter go with my guy, so to speak, even though I would have wanted to, without nothing to do Suda, even if they didn't have a Suda, they didn't have engagement party. Still, I gave my word. According to Rava, we don't say that. No, it's not because you gave your word. You do have Yetzer Hara to go with your guy. The wife forced you to go against. Only if you have a Suda, then we say otherwise you don't want to lose the money of the Suda. That's Rava. Weiter. 2 dots. Now we have a different issue, similar but not the same, and that is the issue of, one second. Oh. Yeah. Now, before we continue, what happens? What's the stage after Kiddushin? Nisuin. Now, the father says the Ritva, Halacha, as we see over here, the father has to agree to a chuppah. Just like a father has to agree to Kiddushin, the father also has to agree to Nisuin. Why? As long as she's not Nesua, she's under his control. Let's say the father says, you're Miskadesh, very nice. I don't want you to be Nesua yet. I want you to be Nesua next year when it works out better for me. I want Kiddushin now, not yet Nisuin, whatever. Nisuin also have to be under the father's, in his within his consent, under his auspices. Now, Niskachel Dasavia. Oh, easy, back to safe haven. Niskachel Dasavia. Let's say what would be the following story. A girl was Niskadesh and she's a Ketana, and she's Ladas Avia. It works with Doraisa, no question. Kiddushin, Ladas Avia. Of course she's Mekudeshes. The father himself stood there and agreed and grinned and smiled happily as Reuven was Mekadesh's little girl Rochel. Great, amazing. And then, you know what happened? He went to Chutz La'aretz to collect money for the wedding. He went to America for whichever reason. He went to Medina Sayam. He went to Chul, the Amdov, and he says, oh, and now what happened? She went and she had Nisuin Chupa with the Choson while the father was in Chutz La'aretz. And you know what? His WhatsApp didn't work, and the Wi-Fi didn't work, and the phone didn't work, and the email didn't work. And she, or maybe she didn't want it to work. Yeah, I'm joking, obviously. Yeah, she was Nises without the father's knowledge. And the father right now is in 5 towns collecting. I don't know what he's doing. And she's in Eretz Israel advancing into Nisuin without the father's knowledge. Now, there's one of the big nafkamin, as we're going to see, between being Nesua and not Nesua, besides living with a man, there's an even, in a way, even more chomer aspect. What would be if the choson slash husband, good question what he is right now, that's a question, and he's a kohen, and she's not a kohenes. Is she allowed to eat truma? As long as she's mekudeshes to him, we saw in Daf Yud Amud Beis, midorais, midorabonon, a mekudeshes, a kala, a meurosa is not allowed to eat truma. Although, we saw it in Daf Yud Amud Beis, although, also Ksubas Nun Vav, Nun Zayin area, although midoraisa, it says kinyan kaspoy, once a kohen gave a woman of any age, kala, he was mekadesh a woman, midoraisa she's allowed to eat truma, but Rabbanon made the gzera she should not eat truma until she mamish lives with him as a married wife. Why? Remember? 2 reasons. Reason number 1, if she still lives by her parents, very good, he's going to send her a nice engagement with flowers and butterflies. Oh, my dear Kala, what's he sending her? A kohen, you can eat truma now. So she can eat truma. He's going to give her wine and pineapples and grapes of, I don't know what, of truma. And she's going to, incidentally, what will she do? Share them with a brother and sister. What's going to happen to them? Chayiv Misa. They're regular Israelim. They're not allowed to eat it. So if she eats truma at home in an environment that's not truma and she still sees herself as part of their family, of her nuclear family, of course that would be a terrible thing. So don't eat truma at all before you're fully married. Other reason number 2, machlokas over there, and that is what? Simfoin. It's not over till it's over, which means maybe after the chuppah and after they come home, then he will see that she has some kind of blemish in a hidden place. She's a tsanua girl. He didn't see her body, of course, before the marriage. Now, after the real marriage, after the chuppah, they come home from the chas and the hall, and he sees some horrible, disgusting. He sees the tattoo. Good. Ah, he sees the good one. She's a balas tshuva, and he sees a tattoo on her. I don't know where on her arm. Here, can't take it. Can't take such a thing. Disgusting. And then you know what's going to happen? The whole marriage will make a chtos, not divorce. Almenah, such a horrible mum. I had no havamina of such a thing. The whole kiddushin would be retroactively annulled. So then she was not bichlal mekudeshes to the kohen, and then all the truma she ate it as an Israelis. We now know that her 6 months of engagement, let's say, was 6 months where she thought she was mekudeshes, she wasn't mekudeshes, because now, whoopa, we undo everything right from the start. So for 6 months she was a regular Israelis eating truma, chiyuv misa. The Kitzer, Midorabonon, they established that a Bas Yisrael Me'oroso should not eat Truma. Only once she's Nesua properly, and he knows everything about her, he saw the tattoos or didn't see the tattoos, or v'chule, and she lives with him, she doesn't live with her siblings anymore, then she can start eating Truma. Seder? Now let's continue. Omarav, let's continue and tell the story of the girl. What did she do? She was Miskadeshes Midoraisa. The father agreed. But the Nisuin, the chuppah, were outside the father's radar. He was in Canada over there. Well, she's in Eretz Yisrael having Nisuin. What would be the story? Says the Gemara, Omarav, Oichelis betruma. We assume that she may eat betruma. She may eat betruma, assuming that she is married. Unless the father comes and he protests. If the father comes and protests and says, "What? Nisuin without my knowledge? You crazy? No nisuin. I was no way." So then if he's moich and says, I don't want the nisuin, then we say, enachinami, she should stop eating truma because she's only moirotha. He didn't cancel the erusin, he canceled the nisuin. But until we know that, unless we know mamish that he protests, at that point we say, let her keep eating truma. Why aren't we concerned? Because we assume that the father wants it. It was a chutz laaretz. We're not assuming the worst. Maybe it's an iser. It's only the rabbanon. Because it's only the rabbanon. Because midoraisa, she's allowed to eat truma. Rabbanon were makel in a suffix the rabbanon kind of thing. That's Rav. Rav Asi Omar. Rav Asi says no. She's not allowed to eat truma as long, although there was chuppah and nisuin, but we don't know where the father is holding. What's the father's stand on the matter? Shema yovoy avia veimche. Maybe the father would come and protest. Yeah. In other words, although it's only Zora midorabonon, but I'm concerned, says Ravasi, I am concerned that the father would make a face, would protest and make a whole rokus over there, would not agree. And then, at least midorabonon, Yovenis midorabonon, don't risk that. That's opinion of Ravasi. Have a uvda, listen to an unbelievably yesod in halacha. So Rav says, go ahead, be mekel. And Ravasi says, no. As long as you don't have your father's consent for the chuppah, stay away from truma, because you don't know, you may be over an isser, the rabbanon, but there may be an isser. Don't touch the truma of your husband, the kohen. Wait until the father comes. If he gives his consent to the chuppah, then you can say, but the eved, it was zochin and it's good. As long as you don't do that, play it safe. But listen to an unbelievable. This is mamish a big yesod in psikas halacha of the Gemara. Have a uvda. There was a real life story. Up until now, we spoke theoretically. There's one such a story of a girl who married the kohen. There was nisuin to the kohen in Bnei Brak. The father was in Brooklyn, not knowing what's going on. There was such a story. And they asked the Shaila Halacha, is she now, a day after the chuppah, the night after the chuppah already, the father has no idea what's going on? Is she allowed to eat truma? Can she really play it as an isua for a kohen and really eat truma? Maybe she should wait and be cautious and play the game carefully. The chash la Rav leoder Ravasi. Wow. And Rav was concerned, and was concerned for the opinion of Ravasi. Wow. Although Rav believed differently, but he said when it comes to Lemaisa, I'm concerned with what Ravasi says, that don't eat truma. It's not a stira. It's not a stira. You can have many times Rabbonim, Tanoim, Amaroim until today. A Rav will tell you, listen, when I'm in Besmedrash, in theory, makes a lot of sense to me. But Lemaisa, I'm choishish. Yeah. You know the concept of Meiser Rav, it appears in Shabbos. Meiser Rav means when a Tana acted upon his opinion and really practiced what he preached, we say that's halacha l'maisa. It's one of the reasons to say halacha. Why? Because if he's so sure of what he says lekula and he behaves upon his own kula, we say must be his right. He really thought it out. That's what it means. Because sometimes you can theoretically allow something, but l'maisa you'd be more cautious, and that's what's happening here with Rav. Omar of Shmuel bar Yitzchak. Now comes another caveat, another exception to the rule of Rav. Rav agrees to Rav Asi. Shimesa eino yorsho. Here's another nafkamina of nisuin. You tell me, a girl, now regardless whether he's a kohen or not, a girl who was moiresis to a man, and she died, dropped dead, and she had 5 million shekels in her bank account. That girl, okay, cool. She's 12. Before 12 and a half, Uncle Harry from Harrisburg, what did he do? He bequeathed her $5 million. That's nice. And she died as a moiroso. Who gets the money if she's a Ktana or Naira? Moiroso, not Nesua? Tate, very good. Once she's Nesua, who gets it? Uzband, the Uzband. Oh, let's say she died, and there was a Sofek Chuppah. There was a Chuppah without the knowledge of the father. What do you do then? Even Rav agrees, even Rav that says that we don't know, and Rav says, Enochinami, go ahead. It's called a good chuppah for truma, to eat the truma. Here he says, Uki mamoino b'chezkas morei. Uki mamoino b'chezkas morei means as follows, yeah? You always place the money with the original owner, which means, Rav says, listen, my name is Rav, and I know that obviously there's a suffix whether the chuppah is functional or not. Obviously, we don't know if the father will agree or not. When it comes to truma, which is the rabbanon, yalla, you can be mekel. When it comes to money, lamaisa, we don't know who is the owner of the money of the yerusha. If there was no chuppah, then the father goes for it. If there was chuppah, the chuppah was kosher, then the chassan gets it, the husband gets it. Now, in other words, if I know that this phone, it's not exactly moitzim chavero, but a little bit similar. Let's say everybody knows that I come with this nice little black kosher dumb phone every day. We all know Akiva's phone. It says Akiva's phone, right? And then comes a question. We're not sure. We see it. We maybe saw it in the hands of Yitzchak a day or two. We know it was mine up to a point, and then comes a question whether at some point I gave it or not to Yitzchak. Yitzchak claims it's his. I don't recommend. I know you have your own, and I say it's mine. So leaving many other factors behind, yeah, there is a concept called chezkas morakama. Yeah, in other words, we don't know, right, who is the one who was the first owner. We go with the first one. I know that up to a certain point, from the age of 0 till the age of 12, who was the owner of the Yerusha? The father. Now you're making a new thing. Maybe the chossan became her husband. Maybe the status changed. Now he became the owner of the Yerusha. That's a nice maybe. But you go with the father, b'cheskas more, even according to Rav. Kol shekin v'kol shekin, according to Ravasi, who Stam says this whole chuppah for sure is nothing until the father gives his consent, needless to say. Case number 2, and we'll finish soon. He says it's okay. Oh, that's a good way to remember. It's okay to place the money with the first guy. Okay, very good. Niskat sheledas v'nisas shelo ledas v'avia kan. Oh, similar case. She was miskadesh ledas. Kiddushin d'oraisa. She's an eshes ish. Kiddushin, a little girl mikudeshes. V'nisas shelo ledas. What's nisas shelo ledas? She did not ask her father. She arranged the hall, she arranged the orchestra and the band. And what happened next? She's Nisas without her father's consent, and the father is here. The father's right there in Eretz Yisrael. He knows about it. Nobody asked him. Yeah. In other words, she did not, it's his knowledge, but not his consent. Yeah. He drives by Givat Shaul, by all the chasana halls. He sees his daughter is getting married, and nobody asked him. He knows that there were mikudeshes. Nobody cared enough to tell him about the chuppah. Nice girl. Ravuna Omar Eino Cheles. Ravuna says she may not eat truma in such a case. Avir Me'abarabba Omar Oicheles. Avir Me'abarabba says yes, she may eat truma. Similar machlokes to before. It's not the same as before. Why? Ravuna Omar. Ravuna says as follows: Eino Cheles. She should not eat truma, and I know that the father is not happy. Why? What about Rav? The filim Rav the Omar Oicheles. Even according to, what was the story about the Rav and Ravasi? Where was the father in the previous case? In Chutz La'aretz. He didn't know. Here, it's different. He knows and he keeps quiet. He kept quiet. He didn't protest, but when somebody keeps quiet, it's very dangerous. Yeah? If you tell me something, tell something, and I'm poker faced, doesn't mean I'm happy. Or maybe I'm passive aggressive, and the ears, smoke is coming out of my ears. I'm just not saying anything, because maybe his wife is next to him. Yeah? Rav Domar Ocheles. There, the father is not there. Why should we assume the worst? The father is in Canada. The chuppah is taking place over here. Maybe the father is okay. It's enough of a maybe that for truma d'Rabbanan, it's a truma d'Rabbanan. Aval hocho, they say le'av. Here the father is here. Hide the ishtik, is keeping quiet. Mirtach rotach. What does mean roteach mizam? He's seething with anger. Yes, seething with anger. That's what it means in English. Yeah. He's quiet and he wants to kill her, but it's a public place. So that's what's keeping quiet. We assume that in your face she's acting against him. Mistame, he wants to, I don't know, he doesn't want that chuppah. Rabbi says, yes, she may eat truma lekulam. It's okay, it's a good chuppah, it's all nice. I think I'm right, even according to Rav Asi, that says she may not eat the truma in the previous case, so him being in chutzat. Over here, we say, wait, why are you running ahead with this chuppah with a kohen and eating truma? Maybe your father will come tomorrow, protest, and your whole chuppah attractive will be nothing, and you ate truma. Also, the Rabbanon, we keep the Rabbanon, we're not reformed. Aval hocho, over here, with the shatik, he kept quiet. You know how we interpret his silence? It's nuch, it's nachale. we assume that it's okay for him. In other words, obviously, he didn't make all these facial expressions that he did before. The father is strangely quiet. We don't know how to interpret it. So the first opinion says, Rav Yirmiyah bar Abba says, we assume that, the first opinion, Ravuna. Ravuna says, as long as the father didn't say, yes, dear, amazing, good, I don't mind you didn't invite me to the chuppah, as long as you're happy, as long as it was all gushing and okaying, we assume the worst. He's quiet. Hey, he may be ulcer, don't eat the truma. He may not be happy, and he's angry, too angry to tell you that. The other opinion, which is Rav Yirmiyah bar Abba, he says no. As long as the father did not protest and says no, 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 we assume it's a yes, yes, yes. You kept quiet. We don't start saying things about anger. We assume that the chuppah is okay, and she may eat the truma. Now we're going to have the third case, which we'll see tomorrow. That's another minister shalodas. We'll discuss that in Mirza Hashem tomorrow. Atzlocha ubrocha. Thank you to everybody who watches us on Torah anytime. Beautiful website, YouTube channel. Thank you. Have a great day. Atzlocha ubrocha. Interested people can join my shiur in the evening, 9:15 to 10. You're there in the Zoom. The Zoom quality wasn't so good. Maybe it should be more on the camera. You're okay? Thank you, everybody. Yeah. Oh, yeah, you'll continue? Oh, I'll be honored. Thank you. Yeah, it was there in the Zoom. Okay, Hatzlacha. He was in